Hi, Craig.
Yeah,
Hi, this is Ganesh Kuru from University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Hi, this is Ili.
How are you this morning?
I'm good, and you?
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for participating in our interview study. I think you received our questions. Did you have a chance to look over them?
Yeah, I looked over some of it.
Yeah. So we've been working with David Wertheimer at MDH, and so we basically have this project about how to improve the quality of data. We are, talking with many individuals from different departments. But for the last 1.5 years, we've been also developing some software tools to do essential tasks in data quality improvement. Now, these interviews are intended to basically discover or uncover how data quality improvement can actually fit into the workflows of the individuals who work for MDH. To start with, would you tell us a little bit about your role and how it's related to health data?
Sure. So I'm a health policy analyst, and I deal a lot with the creation and implementation of diagnosis and procedure codes. So what I'll do is I'll review descriptions and sort of the medical backing behind it, and figure out sort of business rules that go with it, and make sure those are put into the system so that they're paid on claims properly.
So you're saying that the way it's related to the health data is you basically set the business rules that the data need to comply with. Am I correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's making sure that the diagnosis and procedure codes go in as they should be, so that the data that's coming in is where it should be with the correct business rules.
So we, in our research for the last, 2 years, of course, the terminology, the way we communicate ourselves among ourselves also improves, and we started to use this term called data defect. So it refers to a discrepancy between the actual and expected state of a data item. So to start with, could you give us an example, perhaps the most striking or very important example of data defect from your context?
So the most common, I guess, data defect would be any indicator within the business rules that's incorrect. So any diagnosis that isn't properly put into a specific group, as far as a specific business rule, or any thing that's put into something that should be closed, or that is no longer something that's relevant.
So something that actually expired, but
right.
Okay. So generally, we can then say that the defects detract from the quality of data, and higher number of data defects are associated with lower data quality and vice versa. So through which mechanisms and how do you realize or know about data quality problems?
So what I do is I put in specific captures. So I look for things within the procedure set of indicators that go into a specific defects that we know of, like things such as dates that don't make sense, or things that I know shouldn't belong to indicators based on where the procedure diagnosis codes are on the list, and I put in those, and they're automatically captured that way.
But the problems in the data are captured through the indicators that you basically set to as a part of the business rules, if I understand
Right.
that correctly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But then, you basically do that after realizing some problems, right?
Right.
So how do you realize
So
that there are problems once they basically are triggered during the operations, or you see them during your reviews in the looking at the data?
So initially, when it's first going through, they were done via reviews to find common problems, and then once the initial review is done, once we figured out where the normal defects are, normal problems are, we set a specific, essentially captures that when we get a file with all of our codes on it, they will go into where we set these nets for to catch them.
So these reviews are basically happening by just opening the data on your computer and looking over the columns and rows to see if there is anything that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that was the initial review. Yeah.
And then after that,
Set up specific that queries and like access that pretty much looks for the same problems that were found in the review.
oh, okay, thanks. So it's actually very similar to what David is also doing.
Yeah.
Yes. So the tool that we develop here will do some of that automatically. I think that can be helpful. So identifying and data defects and tracking them to their resolution is basically to ensure data is corrected. This is data quality improvement. To what extent do you think that data quality improvement is necessary in your organization? Why would your organization need data quality improvement?
I mean, data quality improvement is very imperative. I mean, making sure, as far as what I do, making sure the diagnosis codes and the procedure codes are properly set into the system, make sure that all claims are properly paid or not paid based on whether they should be. So making sure all of these indicators, all of the settings are set correctly is necessary to make sure that payments are done properly.
So if we think about the domain of operations for your organization, what are the most time-consuming issues that can be caused by lack of data quality?
Probably along the same lines, it's the review of all these issues that come in on claims that providers come in with, that essentially say these aren't paid properly or this should have been paid, and reviewing that because the data quality may be wrong.
Okay, so review of payments and how about, so if we, of course, assign dollars to time, we could say that these are also the most costly issues, but sometimes it's also useful to think about cost separately. What are the most costly issues that can occur because of lack of data quality?
Well, like you said, all of these indicators that I said, all these settings that are set affect what is paid out from Medicaid for a medical claim. So anything that's wrong could cause, massive overpayment to a provider.
Okay, so the organization loses time, and also there is basically waste.
Right.
At best, and maybe fraud even cannot be detected because of this. Do you think so?
I'm sorry,
so if we think about, for example, some level of fraud going on, do you think that may be not detected because of data quality problems?
Yeah, that could also be something that does come up. I mean, any sort of misrepresentation of a medical claim could be lost if quality isn't right.
So do you think there would be any way for us to quantify the time lost or money lost because of data quality problems in your organization?
Yeah, I think once specific problems, specific issues with data quality are found, you can look back into claims that were incorrectly paid into the past. Once the actual data quality errors are detected.
So what percentage of, let's say, incorrectly paid claims are because of data quality problems, do you think?
I would say all of them, because I don't know what else would cause an incorrect payment other than just fraud, undetected fraud that may not have anything to do with data quality. That's just fraud that no one noticed.
Great. So you mentioned some steps, but we didn't have a specific questions about this. Of course, we implement tools, but it's important for us to know about the current, methods. Basically, how do you currently perform data quality improvement? What are the approaches, steps, and tools?
So as I said earlier, it's first thing is to do a review and discover sort of the main issues. Set up data capture, data capture to find the issues as they come up in queries, and then implement the actual fix. Usually it's a set fix, the same thing that for each of the same problems to make sure that they're all right.
So are there like currently designated approaches, steps, and tools, or are they ad hoc, or sometimes even maybe designated by individuals and the individuals follow them?
I think it's mostly just ad hoc, just whatever needs to be done for the specific problem.
And when you follow these ad hoc processes, what are the most important and recurring day-to-day problems, and particularly in the absence of systematic approaches or with supporting data tools, things that occur repeatedly may annoy people and you may remember them?
Yeah, I mean, if I understand the question correctly, I mean, the biggest problem is just, making sure that everything, that you do it the same way each time the problem comes up. Don't know if that's...
So the same way it is done each time?
To make sure, you're not just coming up with different answers to each time one of these problems comes up.
Okay, so when we try to improve data quality, then there are some perhaps recurring problems. So you're saying that not coming up with the same answer each time. So when you analyze the data, it's a recurring problem.
Right.
Okay. So what causes that problem, do you think?
I mean, it's difficult to say, because I think it's different each time a problem comes up. I mean, but when you don't have a set process or procedure for going through it, you could come up with different responses each time you look at it, if it's a problem that doesn't come up that often.
So each time there is something different happening, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, that could be, yeah.
Yeah. So then if we think about data quality improvement effort that goes into your work or other works, what are the most time-consuming things? Like, for example, detecting the problems or correcting them later?
I would say probably the detecting of the problems, because it's very time-consuming. There's a lot of information to go through and figure out what exactly the problem is and how often it occurs.
Okay. And then after detection, how about the correction phase? So is it okay that you understand it needs to be corrected, or what happens afterwards?
Yeah, after the problem is understanding not just how it needs to be corrected, what went wrong, but also how big the effect has been over the past. So also knowing what may need to be done to fix what the problem actually caused.
Oh, okay. So nobody actually mentioned this. So there's this like kind of impact analysis about what happened, and
Right.
Okay. So that's also time consuming.
Yeah, so right, one of the things that we'll do is when we notice a problem is we'll request a report for a time period when we knew the problem was occurring, so something from the previous year, and then have to review that to see how big the problem actually was, whether it was only a few instances or whether it came up, a bunch of times where something needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so are you able to look at the snapshots of data and how it changed over a period of time?
Yeah, I mean, we can see that. We can also see if it's something that just doesn't come up and it's not really relevant to anything, then we can just do the change and don't really need to look at the impact. But we can look at, a snapshot of a time period, like a 6-month time period, and see how things were affected then versus what they are now.
Mm-hmm. So then when it comes to correction, what do you do? Let's say, you end up with corrupt data. Maybe it's because of the software or something going on. Maybe, it needs to be configured differently. How about those steps?
So, I mean, the main point is just correcting it for future data to come up. I mean, most of what I work on doesn't deal with, regular data that comes in. So it's a lot of making sure that everything that comes in the future is correct.
Mm-hmm. So then you would fill out a form or contact certain individuals in the organization for it?
Yeah, so fill out a form for the request for the change to where everything coming in later will be right.
Okay. So would you mind sharing that form with us so we can see what type of fields exist and what needs to be transferred? Because one of our purposes is to basically involve all the stakeholders who will participate in data quality improvement. I think these forms may give us a lot of information.
I mean, I don't know if they really help you. I mean, they're all internal forms that essentially it depends greatly on just what exactly you're requesting. So I don't really know how much help they would actually be.
So, for example, they would tell us what pieces of information you provide to those who will, correct the data. So that's why. For example, the tools that we develop and hopefully will be put in place, they will allow people such as yourself to create a ticket and enter some of the information, and then that will be sent to those who will work on correcting the data, and when it's done, they are going to mark it as closed. And so during that process, if we know what type of information need to be transferred, of course we can always have this text box which will have any information that you want to enter, but it will be more structured, I guess. Our tools would be more effective.
Right.
Yeah. So would you share the forms with us for that purpose?
I mean, I can. I mean, it's fine, but like I said, it's mostly just a general form with a text box that explained.
So there's nothing much.
No, it essentially says who they need to go to, who requested it, and an explanation of what needs to be done. There's nothing more to it.
Mm-hmm. So then, do you think this whole process of data quality improvement is generally time consuming?
Yes, I think it's very time consuming. I mean, there's many different steps, and then things take a while to review, to implement.
Mm-hmm. So it's very time consuming, and if we think about the money spent to it, it's only about time or other aspects to it as well.
I mean, I think that the biggest thing is time. Is probably more than money. I mean, depending on the problem, but to me, it's the time-consuming aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. So what are the communication or collaboration difficulties if we think about this data quality improvement, and can you give examples?
I mean, the biggest communication problem is dealing with people from different departments. So, go to the people within the clinical staff to review, make sure all this, what an actual, say, diagnosis code should be part of, what business rules should be part of, and how the system should process it, and then going to the people, going to the systems people, making sure that they understand this as well. So there's a lot of communication, a lot of issues that can come up with make sure that the systems people know what the clinical staff wants.
So do you think it's because of using different words, or the terminology is different, people go back and forth?
I think that's a large part of it. I also think a large part of it is the clinical staff may not necessarily understand the capabilities of the system, and system staff would not exactly know what the clinical staff wants. So a lot of it is people requesting things that just can't be done in the system.
So the clinical staff, you're referring to the let's say people who collect data in the field by treating Medicaid patients?
No, it's mostly a lot of people here. Just people that we have that we discussed what each diagnosis or procedure should be part of, which business roles. They essentially, tell us kind of how we should determine business rules and what policies are relevant.
So if I understand you correctly, there is some maybe informatics perspective or culture that they need to be exposed to, and they know the healthcare or clinical issues, but they are lacking the data perspective?
Yeah, that is a very common concept, that they will come to us and request something that just cannot be done in the system.
Okay. So would you give us an example of that?
I don't know about specific examples, but wanting to set a payment for something that doesn't require procedure code, something like that, or wanting to set a specific data capture section within the system, which it can't, based on requirements they're asking for, aren't something that
okay.
track.
Well, that's great. So then, if, for example, they knew about the business rules, do you think it would help them? So, for example, why the system is collecting data in the way that it is collecting now?
Right. And understanding of kind of how the system works. We have the programming, but that's not really going to help people who don't understand computer programming.
Yeah. So, do you know how other similar organizations, maybe state organizations or other health organizations, deal with improving the quality of data? What are their mechanisms?
To be honest, I don't really know. I would, assume that they set up similar, systems just to discover and fix the data. I don't really know, though.
Yeah, a number of years ago, I used to go to this conference called National Association of Health Data Organizations, and it was a platform people, talked about how they made use of data, and I haven't been there for a number of years actually. So just sometimes looking at other organizations, talking with the individuals experiencing similar problems may be helpful. So yeah, thank you. So this brings us to the end of the questions, and do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so.
Well, and thank you very much for all your help and support. So we'll make sure that we follow up and keep you informed about our research and results. So you gave us some very good examples, and if you can find the forms that can help any part of this, particularly related to the communication and collaboration going on, because I think in this case my opinion is that it is unrealistic to expect benefits from some kind of AI type of or very, very automated tool. So there is not going to be that type of solution to data quality improvement. But I think there is a lot of opportunity to have more systematic approaches in the organization and support them with the software tools so that people can collaborate better. So any kind of additional documents and forms that you can provide would be greatly appreciated. So we'll keep in touch.
Okay, yeah, I'll look into what I can find.
Well, thank you very much, Craig. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye. I think he was already ready for just very short answer, right? So it's very difficult to do. And I asked about so this is just the opposite of the topic.
What current activities can be possibly eliminated or possibly merged? Hello? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to think. So you're trying to think through. Your question is mostly asking on the data quality effort itself.
So this is basically a part of business process improvement. So the question is, are there unnecessary things that you may be doing for data quality improvement? And if you actually eliminate them or merge certain tasks, it would be okay or even better.
Could you give me an example of something?
Maybe, for example, some of the checks that you do, but it may be unnecessary to do those checks and you still have to do it because it has been always done that way. Organizations are like software which grow and grow because in software people add modules and programs and they don't remove them. And organizations can also grow because there are processes and workflows in place and new people come in and just follow them. So a part of business process improvement is about, so in this case, by business process improvement, we refer to data quality improvement activities to uncover what kind of unnecessary things you may be doing that may not be providing, really good outcome or results for the targeted, purpose like data quality improvement here.
Honestly, like sometimes in the past we have removed a certain rule in our system because we had a rule that was used for compliance purposes, but we weren't leading up to any significant results with it. Like we weren't doing anything for it, so it was just a waste of time. So we actually removed that from the system. And I'll say, it's something that we haven't. It is a bit harder, but like something we're trying to think of is how do we have this system automatically do the rules, which is a bit harder because in order to program it into the system. And we just haven't had time to do that as much. Mm-hmm. But I think in those cases, we have thought of some certain things that could be just automatically done by the system. We just have to make sure it's programmed correctly, that we're not, so that it can help reduce the amount of time spent on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
So according to your experiences, are there other similar organizations that has better data quality improvement mechanisms?
Yeah, I think that's something we're still looking for, especially for similar systems to ours, and one that's coordinating care between many people and doing billing mechanism. We have found some states that have like some things they do better, but overall like there hasn't been many examples. We haven't seen any examples that has done like an overall better job than us. So I think that's been one of the challenges, is because at least for this system that we use, it's completely custom-based, custom software. So oftentimes we've been kind of the leaders in this field, so it's hard finding another state that does certain things better, I'll say. But I mean, we're still actively looking. It's just we haven't had too much success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. So, do you think MDH can learn from those mechanisms?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think it's possible. I mean, it's possible, and we have tried to do research in the past to see like what other people are. But and especially, I think it will be a really good process in the next year or so, because other states are being forced to adopt the EVS system as well as similar tools. So because of the 21st Century Cures Act. So as they deploy the systems, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they do it, and then we can probably learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically you're suggesting that by having better software, we'll have better data, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, if we do it right, then yes, it should result in better stuff, on better data.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes like with our software, if when the input field doesn't capture all the different scenarios that happen, the users will oftentimes try to force certain things to input, or they don't necessarily input all the information they need. So that's been something like that's an issue if we're too restrictive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so of course, in the ideal settings, the vendors who develop software, particularly custom software, should look at the requirements in the organization and talk with many stakeholders and develop systems that meet the data needs. But it's also the fact that, policies change, laws change, and sometimes systems evolve in different ways. So it's kind of a systems and software evolution problem as well. So the software that may be useful for people's purposes earlier may not be that useful now, or may need changes. So I think if there are further negotiations with the IT vendors, maybe what we know about data quality can guide those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as you said, like the policies are changing, everyone wants to improve things. I think that's something where we've been, I think that's like one of our issues we've been trying to push for, is to kind of, our issue is that everyone wants everything like right now, so there's only so much capacity our vendor can do, can program at a time, both because they're resource-wise, or also in terms of making sure the system is still functioning as it's improving. But because if we move too fast, then there could be bugs, and the system just plain doesn't work. But the thing is, it's still something we're trying to push for, is slowing our process down so that we can have time to improve existing functionalities instead of just creating new ones.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jesse. Do you have any questions for us?
No. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'll be interested in seeing like what else you gather from other people.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I think we're definitely open to learning from other people, but it's usually either maybe it's because we're not looking hard enough, or we haven't been able to find anyone comparable to kind of the work we do. So you hear people.
So we will definitely have group discussions maybe over at MDH or maybe here at UMBC. So we'll make sure that we invite you and of course Jane as well. So the general, I think, theme right now, at least I can say one thing, is that there are activities people do to improve the quality of data that they have, but there is nothing systematic going on. And of course, this may not be so surprising. I mean, on the bright side, people are aware of the problem and they do things, but it's not supported by systematic approaches, steps, or software tools. And that's basically the target of the project. So a number of questions that we asked you were related to the causes of data quality problems, or how you're dealing with them, how they can be fixed. So they will be basically guiding our future efforts to develop those systematic approaches and the software tools, so that we will be headed in the right direction. And of course, our students like Ely, you need to do your thesis too, right? So these are research projects for them as well. So that serves them so that they get their degree.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds good. So, I mean, be looking forward to the work you do in the future.
So are there any updates on the fraud side we worked on last year? Is there anything new, exciting going on?
Is there anything updates in terms of like the compliance stuff?
Yeah.
So we started focusing, we focused on some other areas. So one big thing we're trying to get into is assisted living facility. We're oftentimes sorry, one second. The kind of main exception is like people who are living in the same area.
Oh, okay.
In the same building, because oftentimes, because our program is community settings based, like our goal is to get people into the community, but sometimes in like the place that the participant would call it their own home. It will be their home. But there's some people who abuse our program and try to just get people who don't really know each other living in the same, crowded in the same home area, and then say, "Oh, this is a community settings," but it is, like, clearly is not, because then the provider who does that will benefit from multiple sources of income, and it's kind of almost like they're churning out people in the same home. Mm-hmm. So that's been what we've been looking at, is we've identified a couple people who live in like the same building, and the provider owns all these buildings. They're trying to collect their. These are homes that aren't that great. Yeah. They're like dingy homes, really, and sometimes they might not have like a lock and key. There's been cases where someone doesn't have access to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. It's kind of all terrible kind of things, but
yeah. One thing I learned from the project we did was, like, the type of data analysis you do, it requires a lot of insight. So it's not like somebody who can just come in and without learning about the domain, because you keep thinking about it and you have new observations, and then you keep analyzing data and find new things.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think it's that's also been one of the challenges. It's like one of the challenges we've been doing is like we found like outliers in these different examples in the data, like we're anomalies in the data. Mm-hmm. And then oftentimes from there we have to convince someone to go out and investigate them. Okay. And And like, I think that disconnect between like the data as well as the policy unit and even the compliance, like the inspectors who go out into the fields, that's been also challenging for us. But we do have good news. We do have a recent case that we think is building up traction. So hopefully it'll lead somewhere. It can some people abroad.
Yeah. Well, that's what you should be doing. Okay. Well, thank you very much again, Jesse, and I hope to let you know more about our results in the future.
Okay. All right. So thank you.
It's very old, so it cannot. If we keep putting new information into the system, it cannot always keep up to date. So my boss says sometimes like we need to check if the system can handle it too much. They need to turn the data into a third party maybe. Yeah, I think that would cost money. Like if our system cannot do this task because the system is so old, they need to turn this business into a certain part of the tracking process. They need to turn it into a third party. Yeah, I think that may be the most costly part.
Yeah.
So if we cannot like completely upgrade a system and the current system cannot take the improvements, and then we have no way but to turn this part like into maybe another like a small business that they can like specialize in doing that. Yeah, I think that so in that way, if we can do it ourselves, we need to pay the like a third party vendor, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would cost a lot of money actually.
Then what are the communication or collaboration difficulties in data quality improvement activities? Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, I think because I work mostly as a data analyst, so I mostly only have like exposure to maybe just a few of my colleagues and also my boss. But like sometimes the data improvement decisions need to be made in a higher up level. So maybe my boss can make the decision, but we are the people actually working on the very specifics. And so I think that could be an issue. Yeah, because if I want to know something, I have to ask my boss, and then he doesn't know. He's not very sure, and he needs to ask like people above him. So then sometimes it may take very long time. Because please.
Is there any communication difficulties within your group?
You mean like horizontal? Like me and my.
Yeah. If there is any.
Yeah, I think within a group is much more better. Yeah, but my boss is like my boss is also in our team, but like we have a hierarchy. But the people who's actually in the same level with me, I think I find it much more easier just to communicate with them, but much more difficult to get something to my boss, and then my boss needs to ask his boss. Yeah.
Okay. In data quality improvement, what current activities do you think can be possibly eliminated or merged?
Current activities?
Yeah, that you have to do each time, but there's not much necessary for that.
In terms of current activities that are unnecessary and can be eliminated,
Yes.
I think
Yeah, I think when we talk about like just for me, I will receive like requests from like other people in a building, and they will send this request, say, okay, maybe change this to this provider, and then so I think these providers, they all have like a very long provider name, and they have like other numbers that we can identify them. So each time I receive like a form of request, I need to manually type in of their name again, maybe just for records. So everything we do need to keep records. So I think that's kind of like a waste of time. And I need to, because the people who send me this form, they are typing from their computer like the name, their like provider name, their provider number, and they're like there's an even longer number called like NPI number. So to identify and their address, and then if this request is sent to me, my boss say like, because we are working in different teams, so my boss say our team wants to keep a record of this request, so I need to type them again into my computer. We need to type into a Google Sheet. So my boss keep a Google Sheet. We keep records of all the requests that's sent to us. So I need to type in all of these, which I think that's kind of like repetitive. Yeah, if there was some way better I can save typing all these like long requests. Yeah, like besides the provider's name and number, I also need to type in like what their request is, just so we can have a record. Yeah, I think that's kind of like if it can be eliminated, it will be very.
So when you try to find a provider on the change request, you have to type all the information. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think it's partially correct. I only need to type their provider number, but like to look for like the information of this provider. But like just because we're in different teams, so my boss will think, okay, I want to keep a record of everything other people send to our team. So he actually wants us to type in all of the like name, address, and also the request into a Google Sheet. So it's actually, I don't need all of this information to look for, to look something up. I also need to record all of the information. Yeah.
Are there other similar organizations you know with better data quality improvement mechanisms?
Better data quality improvement mechanism. You mean like a better information system, or do you mean like their working process?
Yeah, I mean, when it's so when the process for them to improve their data quality.
I don't have it on the top of my head, but I think but just from what I remember, maybe like at school, but they don't have a lot of. I don't know, but I just don't understand. Maybe our team has a lot of like paper documents. Like each like person have a lot of paper documents in their cube in their office. So I don't know. I haven't really worked in other similar health organizations, but I don't know if they all have like volumes of paper documents. They need to keep record. Yeah, I think like if we have a information system, a digital system, why do we have so much like paper documents? Why like? Actually I don't know. Maybe I I haven't worked in very similar organizations. I don't know. But I would imagine that they will definitely be better mechanism.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is there any other questions that can answer better if you're looking back?
Yeah, I think.
Is it like what you're looking for? Because for me, like I only work as a data analyst. But these questions are kind of like abstract a little bit for me.
Yeah, so thank you very much. You gave us a lot of useful, detailed information. So we'll go over the basically recording and we'll transcribe it. So this is basically a process that we perform after each interview, and we'll analyze the data and keep you updated about the research results we have. Do you have any questions or comments for us?
Yeah, if you have any, you just email me. Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for giving us time on Sunday. Bye-bye.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.